Do all the lights have to be turned off? Or how about one of them? Here we go.
Perfect. Okay. Turn the back. Can we do the other back?
Do the back.
There you go. Okay. All right. Roll down. Okay. You know, and if you've got questions, let me go through it real quickly, as I can, and then try and save the questions towards the end, if that's okay. You know, we've been working on the bypass for many years. Many of you have been involved with that for years. We got the the west bypass is where it started, and then after that we kind of added this leg which we call the south bypass here. And we've had the city, Interlocal, City, County, UDOT, Mountain Land, Yorkville. We've all been involved with this for many years. Concepts have ranged lots of different things, everything from maybe a local road for this bypass system around Heber to a high-speed bypass, overpasses, and so forth. Over the years, I mean, one of the biggest goals of these bypasses were to reduce the traffic on Main Street and also take some pressure off this hub intersection. That's kind of a bottleneck in the UDOT system there. Subsequently, what we found out over the years, Mountain Land did a study and found out as far as taking traffic off Main Street for the Park City Strawberry traffic, if you put signal lights in every connection, slow the traffic down to about 25 miles an hour, the Strawberry Park City traffic would still take Main Street because it's quicker. So that kind of taking that into account, as far as taking this south bypass and how it affects it, it kind of reduced what the goals of that leg here, this south bypass, would accomplish. But still, it was felt like it would help the hub intersection because that continued to get congested. Over the years, we acquired a couple pieces you're aware of there in front of the Valley Station, and then more recently the Valley Heber Parkway connection, the Daniels Road connector, sometimes we've called it, as we started to build pieces of this. Basically, as you know, a lot of these things happen in relation to development. And so as development occurs, we work with developers, and that's kind of what we were waiting for this upper piece here, to connect this through to Fort, was for some development to occur up here. So we talked a lot about it, and there hasn't been a lot of activity until this past year. We had two basic property owners up here. This property owner next to the trailer park changed hands. Probst bought it, and then subsequently Burton Lumber wanted to buy a piece of the Probst piece. So suddenly now the whole story changed. This came to council last year. We had to start to make some decisions. What complicated it even worse is a lot of times you work with developers because they participate, and that's how we get a lot of stuff built. Neither of them needed this road, so that put, if the city wanted it, the whole burden on the city to do that, or do something with that bypass, purchase it, build it, whatever was needed. And I'm condensing a lot of what happened into a nutshell. There's a lot more that went on, but this is the bind that we were in this last year, because we had development we wanted to build. It was either, hey, buy it or let us develop, and we had to figure out, what to do with it. City or the county and UDOT's kind of position on this in the past is that they've been supportive, but it's kind of a city responsibility to take care of it. And so we tried for a small urban grant, weren't successful in that. So when you start getting into right-of-way acquisition, that gets expensive really quick. So we had a number of questions. One was, do we even need to buy and acquire any right-of-way for this? What impact does it have? Does it really help out the hub intersection like we had anticipated? And if there's not enough benefit, should we even just abandon this whole concept of coming through? To figure that out in a very short time frame, this is the study that we commissioned. We had a study done to try and analyze these questions. And at the time, go to the next one. The thought we had in mind, there's kind of two types of thoughts of road that came up for this missing piece here. One was kind of the original concept of a through bypass, so it goes straight from Highway 40 on through to Highway 189. That's what we started with. And then the concept came up of, well, maybe we should just have a T intersection here. You could put a free right turn in it, but it's more of a T intersection. So we started the study evaluating those concepts, what the benefit was on the hub and the surrounding area, and did it help or not. Horrocks looked at this for us, the traffic people, did the study, and the results were very interesting. And at the end, even took a twist with the council. Here's the results that we came up with. Either a T, or if it was a through bypass, and by a T, I'm just saying some connection, east-west connection that comes into Daniels Road, but it's not necessarily a through road. So either a through road or a T had about the same impact on the hub intersection. You get about a 5,000 to 6,000 trip reduction, 20% reduction in the trips that go through that hub intersection. So, I mean, it's not small, it's not insignificant, but it's not like it's going to improve everything. And we found that improvement only becomes available. You don't start to really hurt the hub intersection, or the reason you don't hurt the hub intersection is because we're anticipating building this western bypass. If we didn't have that western bypass taking traffic off up there, then well, you couldn't do this. You would have to do something, I should say. So with the combination of the western bypass, this has a little benefit getting this connection through here. It has also a much great benefit to the local traffic in here, providing the connectivity through this area. There wasn't a significant difference on the Main Street traffic. Again, really what benefits is the Provo, the Strawberry traffic. That's what this is helping. There isn't a significant impact to Main Street traffic because, again, it's quicker for those people to just go down Main Street. Unless, there's a caveat to that, unless there's a way to force traffic to not use Main Street, even though it's quicker. But if you can force them to go around, that's a whole different story with this whole bypass system. But we don't know how we would accomplish that yet. Another point that came out of it, connection, Daniel Road connect, well, one thing nobody's really ever talked about before is whether you do a through road or if you do a T, now we have a new problem. That's Daniels Road down here. A new intersection is created, whether it's Daniels coming in and stopping into this new road, if it's a through road, or if you stop the bypass, or this connector road that comes through and put it into a T and stop that, and let the Daniels traffic go through, then you start to back it up here. So either way, we end up with now a big congestion problem in here. The interesting thing is Daniels has more traffic than the bypass. You're about 6,000 trips along whichever kind of a bypass you use, whether it's a T or a through street, and you got 8,000 trips on Daniels. So we had to figure out how to deal with that, because you're maybe eliminating some problem, but you're creating another one. We ended up in going to the council, trying to figure out what property do we buy from these guys, if we should, to try and preserve a corridor for this, with the following kind of hybrid resolution. So let's see, Don, go to the next one. We looked at doing nothing. Obviously doing something helps, so doing something is better than doing nothing. Go to the next one. this is the concept that kind of came up for a through road, which, in fact, I'll show you the T. Go to the next one. That's the T they came up with. If you were to do some kind of a T coming in with a free right, let's now go back. I think you go backwards. These are just all the modeling and trips we did to figure out where the traffic was going. There you go. This is a hybrid that came up because the council, we took it to the council, said, you know, if we have to buy a lot of property, where we were thinking originally, it would have taken half the Burton property and then disrupted the Pope's property. We just didn't have that kind of money to buy all that property. And so we said, really your best bang for the buck was the T for the impact and the benefit that we're getting out of this. But the council felt there was enough benefit to try and, rather than a T, keep a through corridor through here that even if we haven't quite figured out how to make the traffic use it in the future, we want to keep those options open. So we took that direction from the council and came up with a through road that also kind of improves the T intersection over here with Daniel Road. We call it a high T. So we're trying to get the benefits of a through road that comes through. The Burton property is right in here now. If you've been out there, you've seen their building on Daniel's Road. So you've got the through road that comes through, and then you've minimized your turns and stops here where Daniel's Road comes in, so that you have really the slowest turn is a left turn here to get on. The rest of them are free rights that they don't have to stop.
Mark, question.
Really.
So coming off of 40 then, all the way around to that high T is no access, limited access?
Well, that's the question the city's going to have to decide at some point. Do they have no access in here, or you know, do they allow when this property? Now this is all on the Turner property. We're dealing with one property owner. Is he going to participate, or are we going to expect to pay for it all ourselves? If he's going to participate, he's going to want a street that accesses on it. I don't know what the answer to that is.
But if you do that, you basically defeated its purpose anyway.
Well, I don't think, you know, now if you allowed lots of driveways on there, yes. But if you allowed one street, I don't know if that's going to, how much that's going to affect it. We haven't got into that yet.
Is that street coming in going to have a free right or a full stop?
This one?
No, the one coming in, if you allow that.
If you allow one to come in here, I don't know. We haven't, those are the things that we have to talk about. I don't know.
Well, I know Kendall said in the past, you know, what about a parallel road, you know, that's off of this, that hopefully the county would work with the city in the future on, so that we could have that, you know, frontage road that would, you know, be in alignment of this bypass road. Is the county still perhaps in favor of that?
Well, the developer built the frontage road.
But I think she's a little I think what the frontage road was talking about was parallel 40, so it gives you, once you get off 40, you access the businesses off of 40, so you're not obstructing or having multiple additions or entrances to that. I don't know that we would make, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's once the bypass, the original plan was to make at least 3 lanes and very limited access so the speed could be maintained without obstruction. But I think parallel road is long 40.
But I think this proposal isn't for the bypass around, it's to just internal Heber City bypass.
But there's no parallel road plan for that one.
No.
There isn't right now. I mean, that's always a possibility. Again, it comes down to cost. Developer, you could probably get him to do a parallel road, but then again, you're back to paying for this whole thing. So that was where we left it. Basically, you've got a 3-lane road right now, no driveways, as limited access as you can make it. Daniels is a 3-lane road coming in. Where it comes out, this would go to 5-lane. In order to reserve this corridor so we didn't get bottlenecked here, the city worked with the property owners there, and we acquired enough right-of-way that we could extend this 5-lane road clear up to this split here. And that way we've left the options open for the future. to do that. Otherwise, it wouldn't have mattered what we did. We didn't have enough room there to do anything.
What's the projected speed limit you put on that map?
I'm anticipating 30, 35 is what
Same as down Main Street.
Main Street, the other roads that we 12 from the map.
The curves in the road will slow a bit faster.
Yeah, actually, that's true too. Yeah, the curves we're anticipating about that speed.
Don't you thank them?
This is not going, the one decision we had to make is if you ever go to, if we want to consider long-term, a high-speed overpass type, 55 mile an hour, this is not that road. This could get you some steps to get there, but you would be into a lot more right-of-way acquisition all over the place. That's a whole different concept. So this is to get you like a 3 to 5 lane road, help the hub intersection a little bit, and try and preserve that original bypass concept, and leave open the option that we may be able to do something down the road with Main Street with it too. And that's about as far as we've got. We were able to afford enough to acquire this property so that this isn't a bottleneck. Our next issue is going to be trying to work out with the developer what we can do here, and that's the update.
Can I ask a question, Art?
Yeah.
Did they analyze at all what the value of doing this would be? You stated it really doesn't change the Main Street traffic. All of the potential effect is on the hub intersection. So is that effect essentially worth the cost of doing something like this? I think that's the only
There is a definite benefit to getting connectivity from 40 to Daniels. Now, we looked at...
But only for the sake of the hub intersection.
Well, locally, you're going to want it anyway. This developer, even if it was a private road, would want to have some connectivity in there. Otherwise, it's just too big of a distance for people to travel. So you could look at it from the most least costly. We looked at, okay, we won't do anything. We'll just leave it up to whatever the developer needs, and he would probably put some kind of private road through here, just to serve his local needs. The feeling was that there was enough benefit to having a public road through there. It just depends on how far you want to go, and that was the next cheapest thing was, I should kind of show it like this T intersection that lines up with the long subdivision. That was the next cheapest thing, and then it kind of depends on how much you let the developer use it. If you don't let him use it at all, then it's very expensive. If you let him have an access road onto it, then it's kind of like a local road that you still get to use for. You get the same benefit on the hub, but he pays for part of it. If you restrict him so he can't use it at all, we get a 5% benefit to the hub, or 20% benefit to the hub.
And it still functions.
It still functions, but we pick up all the costs. So these are more, they're less, I don't know, what's the best way to put it? They're not as much engineering as what's the value to you. It's to control it, to be able to have more flexibility with it, and we got that. We're going to have to deal with it when this guy develops this, but I think as far as the hub, anything through here pretty much, especially if it's a public road, we get the same benefit out of the hub. And that is worth something.
I don't know, but if I was in Daniels and wanting to go anywhere in the north end of Heber, knowing as I do 300 that I live next to, I'd go through and past Walmart and down 300. When you open this up with a connection, how much is that going to let that whole area of Daniels develop and go out to 40 and down to the hub anyway and on, will Highway 40, will UDOT let you come in? Have you discussed that to where we know they'll let you have an access to Highway 40?
UDOT here?
Or is it already there?
Yes. Oh, Further down or here?
Well, where you want to come in with the bypass, is that okay with you, Doc?
Yes, we've checked with them, and this meets their spacing,
Okay.
that they would, initially this will be a stop sign, and then as the traffic picks up, it'll go to a signal.
But there'll be a lot of Daniels go that way, right?
Yeah.
Probably.
Depends on where they're going, but
If they're going to the high school, for example, they'll go around there and through the hub anyway.
So, anyway, it helped us make the decision enough so that this didn't kill everything when these guys were developing this year.
I was just going to say, it seems like whenever we have this conversation and when we made that decision, we always make this assumption that those trucks are not going to take that because it's a couple of minutes longer. And I think the assumption in the studies has always been, well, if it's 2 minutes longer, 3 minutes longer. But I was speaking with the mayor of Naples near Vernal, and he said they were preparing to do a bypass, and I guess they had funding from the CIB board and some other funding. And he said all of the truckers were on board, even though it was longer, because they hate that stop and start on Main Street. They have to bring them to a stop so much. And they had a lot of support, and that's why I think that the best we can do is to get a straight thoroughfare with the least access and the most direct route. And I feel like we make this assumption, and we're kind of making ourselves make decisions that are going to prohibit us from getting the best bypass. So. Also, to me, the whole goal is to have connectivity all the way around the city, and that intersection will provide that. It will bring traffic over to 300 West. It will allow the traffic over to 500 East, on the other side by the tractor company. And it's our last hope. It's our only hope, to build this right so that hopefully UDOT in the future will allow Heber City Main Street to be taken back over by Heber City and to switch Highway 40 over to this new, hopefully much better, the way we envision it, bypass road. It is our last chance to deal with diesels. All of these traffic studies are just showing numbers, but as Mr. Bradshaw pointed out, the diesel is going to, take up much more space. 4 times, 5 times longer than an average vehicle? Just one diesel? And those thousands of trips, even though it's low on this bypass road, the space of the diesels is just going to be so much better off of the main street or the hub. Everyone think about how big the hub intersection is right now. It's the biggest intersection in our town. How much more can they widen that thing? And they'll have to if we don't take pressure off of it. We have to have this connectivity all the way around. So, I'm all for continuing to follow the plan that's been in place.
Here's probably the important point out of this whole discussion is, I think the county, city, everybody, I've never heard anybody really negative saying, don't ever do this. Everybody's always, at least in talking, generally, I guess I'm talking in generalities, has been supporting we should do something, we should have something through there. Where it started to, I'm wondering, maybe the good thing that the county could answer right now is funding is obviously going to be a sticky point for the city every time we have to deal with this, how much money we have to come up with. And we kind of often think about the corridor preservation funds. And we would want to be on the same page with the county that possibility exists for right-of-way acquisition. That's primarily what it can be used for. But what is your criteria that you would be supportive of that? If your criteria is, unless you build it a certain way, city, we won't support that, that's where I want to see if we can get on the same page, because if we aren't, then that causes more problems for us. And if we could get any clarification on that,